Hi and welcome to this Brix tutorial. Today we're going to talk about Brix features concerning the responsive behavior of your layout. Now Brix puts at your disposal a whole set of responsive tools that enable you to precisely control how your layout behaves for different breakpoints you may define. So for example, right now we're seeing a standard page. We're using, by the way, the storefront theme from WooCommerce, from WooThemes. And you can see that this is a very simple layout. Okay, you got a background image, and then you have a couple of columns, one text column, and then another column with an image in it. And as we have designed this page, these columns are 50% and 50% in width. As you can see in the backend, right? So naturally, if we were to resize down this window, the proportion will be kept, which means that even if I go lower at lower resolution, those two columns will stay at 50-50. Of course, as you can see, the layout adapts because it's fluid, but this might not be always the best result for the layout you have in mind. So we asked ourselves, how can we solve this problem? How can we make our users' life better by adding controls to manage the responsive behavior of a layout? And that's why we introduced a whole set of controls to do just that. So, for example, one quick configuration that Brix puts at your disposal is to have, I'd call it a sort of a threshold under which all columns go to 100% in width, which is very handy if you don't have time to set each and every page precisely individually. So if you go to Brix configuration, again, it's Brix configuration, you have a settings down here which does just that. When you select a particular breakpoint, let's say I want to select the mobile breakpoint, which targets all the devices with a maximum screen width of 768 pixels, actually 767, you can say that under this threshold, let's select mobile, all the sections and columns will go full width. And you hit save, and this is a nice time saver because if we refresh the page now, you're going to see that resizing down the page, after a certain point, the column will go full. That's it. So this was easy. This is something you can accomplish very quickly. Of course, this is not, maybe for some of your layout, you're going to have more complex requirements than this. And for those specific reasons, necessities actually, we have created another layer of responsive complexity. So let's go back to the editing page of your layout. You have to know that, of course, you can edit. Right now we have one section and one row, and each row can be edited. You can edit all sorts of things concerning this row, one of them being the responsive behavior. So you hit on the edit button for the row, you go to responsive, and then for each breakpoint that is defined in this row, you can exactly pick how a certain column will behave. So for example, if we were to select a mobile, you can select, okay, the first column will go 2/3, for example, and the second column will go 1/3. Or you can either leave them be, having them, making them have the default behavior, which in this case would be 50-50, as we've designed. More complex situations require more complex controls, as we said. So for example, let's say that we had, I don't know, for example, a third column in this layout. We're going to arrange things real quick right now, just for the sake of the example. You have, oh, sorry. Okay. You can select the alignment, of course, of the columns. So this is an even more complicated solution. Of course, the whole width settings it's still gonna work. We're gonna erase it for now. So when we hit save, this situation that we get is even more complicated, right? Everything's gonna work correctly, but this is clearly not manageable, right? Because the window becomes too narrow at a certain point and the text is not readable anymore, so you have to do something about it. So let's say, for example, that in our mobile configuration, we can say, okay, let's have these two text column go 50-50, and then have the image column, which is decorative, to go full width, for example. This is a complex layout that can be accomplished in just a few clicks. So to do that, you go to, you edit your row, you hit responsive, and then for each column, you select mobile, and you select how this column must behave in that particular breakpoint. So let's say that, okay, the first one goes to 1/2, the second one goes to 1/2, and the third one is going to be have full width, right? You hit save for the row, you hit update, and that's what you're gonna get. You refresh the page, and when you resize down your window, the first two columns will be 50-50, and the third column will go full width, right? Now, of course, this is not the only adaptation you must do for this kind of layout. Of course, each layout is very different from layouts are very different from one another. So this might not be the end of the story, but there's a whole other class of things you can do. For instance, you can when you go responsive, you can hide a column completely. So you go to, so let's say that this column with the image in it, it's purely decorative. You can choose to hide it on mobile devices because maybe it's not relevant for you. Maybe it's not relevant for the text you want to show. So you go to responsive, again, select mobile. You can see that the settings are kept, of course. You can select this column to be hidden from mobile display. And this is, again, a handy tool to do just that, to hide a column on mobile, right? So you resize down, and then you can see that the third column is gone. So this is a nice time saver. And other controls, you can find other controls in different parts of the of your layout. For example, sections have their own spacing controls, and so do columns. You can say, okay, let's say we have a top padding for this column of 100 pixels, for example. And this is a setting that might be good only for desktop resolution, right? So you can see this 100 pixels added to the top of the section. But for example, this is not gonna work when you resize down your page, right? Maybe 100 pixels is too much. Maybe you wanna, rebalance things. So what you can do here is essentially doing the same thing. You go to the section, you go to spacing. Let's say, okay, for mobile devices, again, with devices with a maximum width of 767 pixels, you can say, no, okay, here I want 50 pixels, a top padding of 50 pixels, and that's exactly what you're gonna get after this refresh. So you start with 100 pixels with top padding, and when you resize down, you're gonna have 50 pixels. So as you can see, all these sort of things are accomplished in a really quick way, and we hope that these kind of tools really help you in creating not only great layouts but also the layouts exactly how you want them to be in the real world as soon as they're published. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.